Well, it's a big question, and I believe that we have someone capable to answer that question. We have with us in the studio Mr. Laolu Akonde, who is a Senior Special Advisor to the Vice President on Media and Publicity. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Good morning.
Good morning. The Vice President specifically, I think, headed this project, this social investment program, which has received some special mention in the President's full speech at the 2019 inaugural June 12 Day, Democracy Day. It's quite a mouthful here. But he did say that our social intervention programs are a model for other nations. Together with state governments, provide millions of school children with meals in primary schools, microloans to traders and entrepreneurs, skills and knowledge acquisition support to graduates, and of course, conditional cash transfers to the poorest and the most vulnerable in our society. However, interestingly, one of the strongest criticism of this particular program has come from within the villa itself, and that's the First Lady. She has said that the manner in which this was done wasn't quite inclusive and that it hasn't quite gone round, has it?
Well, thank you very much. If you look at the overall perspective that Mr. President took in that speech, trying to talk about what we need to do to take people out of poverty, you will see that specifically he was talking about infrastructure, he was talking about investment, he was talking about social investment, and of course, he was talking about human capital development. So it's not a one-size-fits-all strategy. It's an all-encompassing thing. And if you look at all of those indicators, for instance, look at infrastructure. For the first time, at least in about 20 or 30 years in this country, we have a very comprehensive range of infrastructural projects going on all over the place, whether it be rail, whether it be road. There is specifically no state in this country where we don't have a federal road project. We have the rail revolution that is going on. By the way, the Lagos Kano rail project has now reached Ibadan. It reached Ibadan over the weekend. So in terms of infrastructure, we have a lot that is going on, and that helps people to get jobs. It creates jobs along the way, and this is going to continue, very significantly. So you have infrastructure, you have investment. For instance, this year, in 2018, I believe, the total capital imports that came into the country in 2018 was about almost $17 billion compared to about $12 billion in 2017. So you see that even in the area of foreign direct investment, we are making appreciable progress, because as more investments are coming in, it will create more jobs.
So the point you're trying to make is that the social investment program is not all you're relying on to lift people out of poverty.
I'm saying, yeah, that's the point. That why the social investment is a very critical aspect. I'm trying to let people understand that the president has a whole encompassing strategy, which includes infrastructure, investment, social investment itself, and human capital investment.
But the key questions as to, what we have to do in terms of education, because for a number of people, they believe that the major intervention one can do to lift people out of poverty is to educate them. And that if you question parts of the reasons why people are poor, perhaps you might find that there is a huge the gap we see between the rich and the poor sometimes lie in also the gap in education as well. What are you doing to bridge that gap?
And that is why we have a very comprehensive agenda and strategy in the area of human capital development, which is the fourth part of the strategy that I was talking about. So,
are you looking at that? Is that in this speech?
Well, no, I'm saying that the plan of the president is comprehensive, but he did mention that we are going to get people out of poverty. He did say that we're going to get 10 million people out of poverty. I mean, in 10 years, we're going to get 100 million people out of poverty. And I'm saying to you that the strategy that underpins that declaration of the president is actually in about 4 ways, and human capital development is certainly part of it, because if you look at the plan that we have under the next level, besides the fact that we are feeding 9.5 million now, and we are going to take that all across the country, that is going to go to 36 states, and by that time we should be feeding about 15 million, which affects education, because then there is going to be an increase in enrollment, which we have seen, by the way. You know, so that is very critical to education. What else is critical to education that we're already doing is in the area of Empower. So we are ensuring that the schools, the primary schools particularly, and the secondary schools in some instances, have the adequate capacity. People who can teach. Graduates are teaching under the Empower program. We have 500,000 of them. They are teaching. So that is also about human capital development. But even more than that, we're going to be refurbishing, because we found out that in a lot of the schools, you know, the infrastructures are dilapidated. We're going to be building thousands, we're going to be refurbishing thousands of schools, primary schools across the country, working with the state. And we're going to also pay attention to the curricula.
I'm finding it interesting you are listening to all of these things. It's not in the speech. The president talked about, I mean, he talked about some plans. The administration is laying the foundation and taking bold steps in transforming our country and liberating our people from the shackles of poverty. Yes. This is under poverty again. Yes. He says, first, we will take steps to integrate rural communities to the national economic grid. Yes. He says how they're going to do that. Secondly, for small-scale enterprises in towns and cities, we shall expand facilities currently available so that we continue to encourage and support domestic production of basic goods. I didn't hear anywhere here where education is a part of it. And the president was quite worried, he was saying, about the burden of population.
Well, you asked the question about education, and I said to you that one of the things that underpins the president's declaration of taking people out of poverty includes the plan of the federal government in the area of human capital development.
Shouldn't that have been in the speech? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, the speech can have everything.
It can, but looking at how primary and how strong the issue of education.
That is the point I'm making to you.
Yes, shouldn't you have been included in this speech?
I can give you explanations of some of the underpinning ideas behind the speech.
Because when you look at the president's statement, when it says our country is a great country, according to the United Nations, our population will rise to 411 million by 2050, making us the third most populous nation on earth, behind only China and India. The questions, you know, and he says a huge responsibility therefore rests on this and succeeding administrations to develop, harness, and fulfill our enormous potential into a force to be reckoned with globally. I mean, that will seem to rest largely on the pillar of education if we're going to make any progress by the time the president is talking about.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to explain to you, that what underpins all of this idea are essentially four things, you know, and let me state them again. I said there's infrastructural development, you know, like never before seen in the history of this country, that is going on rail and railway, even in power. You know, I said that, you know, there is no state in the country today where we don't have some kind of road projects going on. So that is critical. And I said that the other one is investment in terms of, you know, making Nigeria to be more investment friendly. And I said that in 2018 already we have almost 17 billion total capital imports that came in compared to about 12 billion in 2017. So you see that there is an improvement, and we're going to do more. You know what we are doing in the area of...
The question is, where are those investments? Because if they're just going to be in bonds and treasury bills, then there are huge questions to be asked about the stability of those investments.
It's not just in bonds and treasury bills. For instance, Shell has said that it's going to be spending $15 billion in the next 5 years in the area of oil and gas. You know, Microsoft has said that it's going to invest about $100 million to build an African data center, you know, in Nigeria. I mean, there's a Chinese company that is starting a cement board company. Only in 2018, we had 178 million investment that came in for startups.
So you mentioned investment. What's the fourth one?
So the fourth one is, of course, you know, social investment is the third one. And then the fourth one is the human capital development. And let's talk specifically about social investment. Let's talk more about it. So that is the linchpin in terms of what government itself is going to be doing directly, you know, to bring people out of poverty.
The social investment program has received quite a bit of criticism. You heard Mr. Osarenko there saying that we should be teaching people how to fish, not giving them fish, which is how a lot of people are viewing this. Some say it is an ad hoc measure. It is not a sustainable measure. How long do you think this program is going to last for before we can sufficiently say that we think we have given people fish enough? You know, and concentrating more on teaching them how to fish.
By the way, you know, there's nothing wrong with ad hoc efforts and ad hoc strategies, you know, because at times you cannot wait until when you have the blossoming of the economy before you take people out of poverty. Government has a responsibility to do whatever it can do to fill the gap between when we get there and where we are now. You don't want people dying, you know, so that is the point. But it goes beyond ad hoc, as a matter of fact. For instance, if you look at the trader money, the trader money, the market money, the farmer money, our micro soft loans projects is not, giving people fish. It is actually teaching them how to fish.
Yeah, but people are saying, why can't they go through the already existing infrastructure? For instance, the community banks. Is there no way we could have engaged the community banks to do this?
The whole idea is that the existing infrastructure does not cater to the needs of these millions of Nigerian traders, at that level. That's just the
What
reality.
about making them work to cater to them?
So this is the whole idea. This is the whole idea of what we're doing. Don't forget that this program itself, our microcredit program, is being managed by Bank of Industry. So it's not as if it's a government thing that we are doing directly. We are using the bankers, and Bank of Industry is deploying this program, and they have a very sophisticated system. By the way, I think they have gathered so much data. We now have a very huge financial inclusion of people who otherwise had no connection to the banking industry, had no financial involvement. We have millions of them that have been registered, and about close to 2 million already that have received the loans. Some of them are now in the second category. Haven't returned 10,000. Some of them are now getting 15,000. So the point is that it is important to pay attention to that level, because you have quite a lot of people in that place. We're talking about lifting people out of poverty. So you have to go down low where poverty exists and see what innovative ideas that government working with the private sector can bring about to take people out of poverty. And that's the whole idea. And it is working very, very successfully.
Well, I don't know. The First Lady did not say that it was. She said she hadn't seen it. I mean,
I think,
in that manner.
I think she was talking to scale, and the idea is that we are going to be improving. We're going to be enlarging the program. We're going to be ramping up the program. That's the whole idea of the next level. For instance, we are moving from 500,000 people in the Empower, the graduates. We are moving to 1 million. The home grown school feeding is now in about 30 states. We're going to take it to 36 states. We're going to reach about 15 million. So we're going to do more. And as we get more resources, we're going to be enlarging this program, and we're going to be reaching millions and millions and millions of people more.
Well, Mr. Laulu Akonde admits that the program is ad hoc. We'll be asking, just how long is this process, or is this program going to be in place for? Do they have a time frame? In just a moment, please stay with us. Mr. Laulu Akonde, he is Senior Special Advisor to the Vice President on Media and Publicity. He's still with us in the studios, and we're talking about the President's speech with special focus on the Social Investment Program. Does this program have a duration? Do you know probably when it might end?
Well, so specific schemes under the social investment does have a duration like the Empower for the individual. So it's 2 years. You get 2 years as an Empower beneficiary that you're going to be engaged with as a teacher, a community health worker, or an agricultural extension assistant.
Those are for the individuals?
That's for the individuals.
But for the program as a whole?
No, I don't think that anybody imagines that we're going to terminate the program anytime soon. This is something that government is committed to already, in the 3 budgets that we have done, 16, 17, and 18.
Yeah, but I'm saying, for instance, do you think this is a 10-year program? This is a 5-year program? What program does government think this social investment program, since it's an ad hoc one, how long would it last for?
No, when we say when is it going to last for, the idea is that it will last for as long as it is needed, for us to have the programs. We will know when the programs are to be institutionalized. Some of them, I imagine, are not going to end. Every country does have a social safety net. There's social security administration in places like the United States. They have similar programs all over the place.
So if we're thinking of institutionalizing it, what steps are we taking in that direction? Do we intend to work through the already existing institutions, or do we intend to build new institutions to take care of social investment?
We're going to do as much as we need to do. We're going to do both. We're going to use existing institutions. We're going to build new.
Admit there has been no thoughts in that direction yet.
No. Why do you say that?
I'm just saying, because if there was, you would be telling us very clearly what the thought is,
these programs,
or what the thinking is.
These programs are just in their very early stages. We just started this program in 2016, and we are building it up. As a matter of fact, we've not been able to get as much money as we had expected. For instance, the president, estimated to spend 500 billion in 2016. We didn't get as much as that. 500 billion in 2017, 500 billion in 2018. But altogether, I think we've just gotten maybe between 300 billion and 400 billion altogether in those 3 years. So we've not been able to afford, government has not been able to afford as much in terms of what we intend to spend. So we are trying to see how much money we can get into those programs at this point to be able to actually achieve the president's aim of reaching the large numbers of people. Of course, there are discussions going on how these programs themselves can become sustainable and institutionalized. Conditional cash transfer, for instance, we have to keep doing it because it is targeted at the poorest of the poor, trying to help them to be able to feed and get on with their lives. And already we are doing about 400,000 people that we have identified. We intend to do 1 million a year.
Well, you still admit that this is actually a very small population. You say that's where the First Lady was looking at. It's still a small...
And we are ramping up very significantly.
In the sea of people that were looking to lift out of poverty. But, this conversation is an ongoing one. For as long as the program is on and as long as there's still people to be lifted out of poverty, we hope that we will have this conversation again and again. And
the important thing is that the commitment of the president is solid. The president is committed to ensuring that this happens, and he will do everything within his power to ensure that it does happen.
It's a good place to live in. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Mr. Laulu Akonde is Senior Special Advisor to the Vice President on Media and Publicity. Well, that's been Sunrise Daily this lovely Monday morning. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Back to you guys. Well, yeah, we'll be hoping that they do something about that FDI inflow, which was down by 36% to $2.2 billion. Well, thank you for watching as well. I'm Chamberlain Uso. I'm Gimba Umar. And I am Akide. We're asking you to have a wonderful weekend.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this program are those of the maker and do not reflect the views, opinions, and endorsement of Channels Television.